Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'm proud to introduce you to Carol Sigmond, a lawyer whose expertise in construction law has built a reputation that truly sets her apart. Carol, it's such a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Star.
Wonderful. So, Counselor, let's just start from the beginning. Let's start out by discussing your education. How did you prepare to become an attorney?
My mother said that I started life as a pit bull. I'd get in my teeth in your ankle and never let go. I don't know if that's true or not. But
now that sounds like a good trial lawyer to me.
Sounds like a very practical mother too. But I started out in debate club in high school and I really liked it. That was a lot of fun. And then in college, I actually was looking to become a demographer, a pollster. And then in my senior year, my guidance counselor said, you don't want to go to graduate school, you want to go to law school. You're the only one that should go. Like 50 of my classmates wanted to go, and I wanted to go to grad school. And he's like, no, you go to law school. You're going to like it. And I did.
How interesting is that? So the guidance counselor saw something in you that he or she said, this is a future lawyer in the making.
And then I went to law school and had a ball. Nobody
Fantastic.
has fun in law school except me. I had fun.
I had fun also, Carol. As I think about it, I found law school was stimulating and interesting, and I thought I was learning something new every single day.
And the puzzles. I love the puzzles and the logic games and, how to make the pieces fit together. It was fun.
You and I feel the exact same way. But you actually chose an area that I'm not as familiar with, and that's construction law. As a specialist in construction law, tell me what matters actually fall under your purview.
Everything from a bid protest on a construction project to counseling developers and clients on risk allocation under construction contracts. We look at regulatory issues from time to time. I don't personally do a lot of zoning, but there is zoning as well. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's the contracting and the dreaded dispute resolution.
Oh, yeah, I know a little bit about that dispute resolution. Were you always involved in construction law, or did you gravitate toward that field as your career developed?
Oh, no, that's another funny story, so we'll just have this moment. I was a clerk for a law firm, and this person was in a car accident and died in a very odd way.
Oh, wow.
He was literally decapitated.
Mm.
And nobody could figure out why. The only thing we knew is that the undercarriage of the car was literally torn. And eventually we discovered that the subway system in Washington, D.C. had left a manhole cover 6 inches above the roadway. And when the car came by, the undercarriage caught the lip of the manhole cover and stopped in 6 inches.
Oh.
So this led to the subway system paying a lot of money. And this was at a time when, of course, everyone was recruiting women. So they came and recruited me. And then I went from the tort side to the contract side within a year.
How interesting is that? I mean, to fall into a career choice based on a tragedy, but I'm assuming the family really did reap a benefit
as
a result of that law.
They did. The family did do very well because we were able to establish that the subway system and its contractor were responsible for the death.
Absolutely. How interesting is that? Carol, what attracted you to this field?
When I was a little kid, I was very fascinated by how everything fit together. And when I was a youngster, I was given an erector set. And I began to figure out how things fit together. And then there I was in the subway system looking at heavy construction and how things fit together. And it was just fun. And apparently I am able to I can look at the drawings in 2 dimensions, and I can visualize what's going to happen in 3 dimensions, which does help. It's just
It sounds like you took that love of puzzles and strategic planning and actually turned it into a career. My mom would say, find something you love and figure out a way to get paid for it.
Your mom is right. That's exactly what I think I did.
Okay, that's wonderful. I love that. So you and I also bear another thing in common. We were both New York lawyers. You still are. And I understand you were inducted as president of the New York County Lawyers Association. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, NYCLA was formed in 1908 as the inclusive bar association in the city, so that there were no requirements or limitations on joining other than that you be a member of the bar. So the Articles of Incorporation were signed by 2 of the most prominent African-American lawyers of the day, Wilfred Smith and Macon DeCourcy Wallace. There were also women in the early stages of the association. So it has a long tradition of being a bit of a cutting edge bar association. Mm-hmm. And I was originally attracted to the association because I got dragged down there to look at the building, which was a historic building that needed work. And then I got intrigued with the work of the bar itself, and then became treasurer, and then went on the ladder to become vice president, president-elect, and then president.
Mm-hmm. Why do you continue to work with this particular bar association? You could choose any bar association to be a part of.
The mission of county lawyers, which is still to be inclusive and to promote diversity, is very important to me. And the fact that historically we've done it so that we are not Johnny-come-latelys to this party. We've been here seriously looking at these issues for, 50 years, 100 years. That matters. We have developed, and I helped to do this while I was president, robust pro bono programs to work with the people of the city. And we have a particular focus for those programs. The programs are primarily designed to help the working poor to protect their assets and even to get jobs or to protect jobs. We think that there's not enough attention given to the rights of citizens who are dealing with the the government in an executive capacity in the administrative law system, where a lot of damage can be done to people. Unemployment, being falsely accused of child abuse. There's lots of things that can happen to people that we try to deal with. But I'm also active with the state bar as well.
I'm a big fan of lawyers' war stories because every time I think I've heard it all, someone surprises me. So I'm going to ask you, have you had any notable successes or breakthrough cases that you're allowed to discuss, counselor?
I'm not in the breakthrough business, but okay. I do have one story to tell that I think is kind of amusing. Way back in in the early days when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still a judge on the DC Circuit, I had to argue a case before Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and her co-panelists were Abner Mikva and Douglas Ginsburg. Now, what's important about the two Ginsburgs is you could not find 2 judges politically more divided. I mean, one was appointed by President Clinton, and the other was nominated for the Supreme Court by Richard Nixon. So, you're talking about fairly divided folks. Mm-hmm. This particular case had to do with the application of the Federal Railway Labor Act and whether it was going to apply to the subway system in Washington, D.C. And there was at that time a division in the circuits, and the Supreme Court had stepped in and taken cert, which was fine. But I guess the other side didn't know. We found out relatively late only because we did a kind of a manual search. Because in those days there were no computers and no computer searches, the old days. So we found out that this case existed. So we notified the Court of Appeals. They went ahead and held the argument anyway. And the argument went forever. There was no time limits on this argument. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg spent her entire time bashing me because, of course, I did not want the Federal Railroad Labor Act to apply to the subways. And Douglas Ginsburg spent his time bashing the other side. And Abner Mitchell, who was a real gentleman, spent his time trying to calm them down.
What a cast of characters you are outlining here.
So at the end, Abner Mikva basically coerced everybody into agreeing that we have to wait for the Supreme Court. Supreme Court ultimately came down on our side, Douglas Ginsburg's side, and ultimately, of course, the appeal was then decided in our favor. But I never wanted to see Ruth Bader Ginsburg again.
I can't believe you would say that about the notorious RBG, okay?
She's a wonderful woman, but don't be on the other side of her, especially if it's an issue that she thinks is somewhat political. She's a very, very smart woman.
Well, I think those are the days that, lawyers are born for. And I know any student listening to this would say, that sounds exciting to me. So how would you advise a law school student to make the most of his or her career in law?
It's very hard today. It was a lot easier when we were coming up because there was more of a sense of professionalism. Unfortunately, the profession has gotten very business-like. But it's very important to stay focused on ethics, professionalism, dignity. It's extremely important to really study the law that applies to your facts. But the most important thing is to find an area of the law that really makes you excited. I mean, I know I'm a little odd. I find buildings and that sort of thing exciting. Okay, that's my thing. But there are lots of other things to do. There's healthcare. There's the new automated vehicles. Mm-hmm. There's the impact of social media. I mean, there's huge areas and swaths of the law that are opening up, and people should find what they want to do, then they should do it.
Carol, what's the one thing that you would like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with when it comes to talking about the law, talking about ethics, talking about diversity and inclusiveness? Because that is what your career has really been undergirded with, is the best way for me to put it. To use a building analogy, that seems to be the foundation of the career that you have built. So what would you like people to walk away knowing about that career and that foundation?
If people can walk away with one thing, it's to look at the lawyer underneath and not the surface. That's what people had to do with me for years, because a woman in construction was just a real oddball. But if they looked underneath, they found I was really competent and really good. And that's all you can ask people to do. Look at the real person. Don't look at the superficial. Look at what's underneath.
Absolutely. I think that's such great advice, because I believe when preparation meets opportunity, anything is possible. It's just giving people the opportunity to sit at the table where decisions are being made. And Carol, I think the work that you've done in an area that a lot of us don't know about, but know that we're glad you're there for us.
Thank you very much.